This is where Texas politics gets interesting. Here again are two guys named Jason, some great guests, and cold Texas beer for another smart conversation on Y'all-itics, the unofficial political podcast of Texas.
Hey everybody, Jason Wheeler here with Cole Sullivan this week. He is a reporter with WFAA TV in Dallas. Notice who's not here again today. Jason Whiteley is finding interesting, creative ways to not be at work these days.
Excuses is one word. I hear this time he's got a mouth problem.
Well, okay, so to be honest, to be clear, Jason Whiteley's had a mouth problem pretty much his whole life. But I do like how you honed right in. I don't know why I was trying to be the nice one for once, but excuses may be the better word. But yeah, he says he has a mouth problem. Notice I couched that with he says.
Sure.
No, he actually does, I think. Whiteley has a crown, apparently, on a molar. Do you have any crowns?
No.
Okay. I don't either. I wish he had taken better care of his teeth.
Dental hygiene makes a difference.
Well, he is in front of a dental hygienist and I think a dentist and maybe a whole team of people today because he cracked the crown that was on top of a molar, which to me sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Because I don't have any crowns and I don't know what that's like. So one of us in the text yesterday asked him, is there pain involved in this? And he's like, not yet. So I thought that you would have pain from something like that. And so then I asked, is it wrong of me if I feel sad about this, the fact that there's no pain involved?
Well, he said not yet, so maybe
Not
it's
yet.
coming. You still have hope.
He sent us a picture today, a very grim-faced Jason Whiteley sitting in the chair at the dental office, waiting to get that fixed. So maybe the pain has kicked in. Honestly, we do wish him the best, and it does sound horribly painful, and hopefully he's back with us soon so that I don't have to carry the whole burden. But thank you for being with us today to help carry the burden. We are at Sideways Barbecue. This is in ROCKWALL. You can see the beautiful lake right there next to us. That's Lake Ray Hubbard here in Rockwall County. And I am having a beer that is not from ROCKWALL, but it's close enough. It is from the Tups Brewery up in McKinney, which we have been to as well. So cheers to them for being on tap here. You're having water.
Yeah.
Because you're working a double shift today.
Yeah, some of us have to work for a living still. So water for me for
You really
now.
should talk to Whiteley and get that figured out because he can help you with that, I think. Cole, the reason that we wanted you here is because you did something here in ROCKWALL. You did a story recently about this, and it's staggering. And it's not just a ROCKWALL issue, ROCKWALL County issue. This is an issue across this state, and it's something that every county in the state, I think, is going to be paying very close attention to as to how this shakes out. Interesting thing, this is only, 15, 20 minutes from where we are?
Yeah, it's not far from where we are at all, which is, I think, part of the argument that the Rockwall County is trying to wrap their head around is part of land that doesn't have anything in it right now, has a lot planned to come towards it.
So you did a story on this recently, and you showed us, pictures of this area that is causing all this, consternation and all this worry. It's just grassland right now.
Oh yeah, it's empty. It's nothing.
So this is where houses are going to go, at least if a developer has their way. We obviously need houses here in Texas. The state has grown quickly. A lot of people have been moving here. The Texas Comptroller last year, I think it was, shared a report that said that Texas was short about 320,000 housing units. And so obviously we got to build. The question is, where do we build? And how do we build, and who's responsible for what when we do build?
Yeah.
And it was an interesting takeaway from your story here. It turns out that one of the largest home builders in the United States is now suing what is the smallest county in the state, which is Rockwall County.
Yeah, and so this is kind of the playing field for you, Jason. There's this about 1,800 acres of land that is 20 minutes from where we are right now, and County Judge Frank New says if the developer's plans go through, it will be home to the second largest city in Rockwall County.
Okay, but without being a city.
By population, which
Okay.
is key because it's not a city. It's just in the county. It's unincorporated Rockwall County right now. but there is something like 6,300 homes planned there, he says.
And these would be unspooled slowly. So, you know, a couple of hundred homes, and then we come in and we do another phase and another phase and another phase, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so at issue here is the whole idea of who pays for all of the stuff that comes with all of the houses, you know, whether it be roads or law enforcement protection, ambulances. I mean, this list goes on and on.
Right, and because when you build, I mean, I was out there last week and saw this land. As you said, there's nothing much there. The roads are also built as if there's nothing much there, right? It's they're one lane each direction. They're no shoulder on the side. They're not designed for all of the people who would move into these houses if they come in, and that's just one aspect of the infrastructure that needs to be upgraded.
Yeah, can you imagine the commute at 8 o'clock in the morning if it were left that way and no one stepped up and said, we'll handle the road portion of this?
And even before then, building all of that means all this heavy machinery and equipment that's going on those roads too, and there are people who live out there who are going to be now dodging big trucks on the roads at the same time. So you almost have to build that before you even start building the houses and bring those people in.
Okay, so this sets up a big conundrum here, and as you mentioned, you spoke with the county judge, Frank New, who kind of listed out, you know, at least some of what they're looking at as far as, you know, what would be needed here. And this isn't even the laundry list that he gave you. This is just sort of the top of mind things that are kind of the bigger deals. Let's take a listen to what the county judge told you, and then we'll continue.
We need 10 more deputies, which means we need 5 more cars. I mean, our schools have done a calculation. They're going to need a high school, a middle school, and a grade school in order to just serve this development.
Would property taxes make up for that? That seems like what they're designed for.
Property taxes will take care of maintenance and operations. It doesn't take care of the infrastructure costs. So the ongoing cost of the deputies would be covered by the citizens. But the infrastructure, the cars, the training, actually getting the people hired, my position is the development is responsible for that.
Okay, so that's just the tip of the iceberg there.
Yeah.
You know, he's listing off, you know, maybe things that, you know, you could put on a couple of fingers of one hand. The interesting thing is, though, is that the county really asks for much more than that. Back in 2024, I guess it was, they passed a law that, you know, requires or asks for help from developers on a whole range of things.
And the county judge calls it kind of being a good neighbor, right? And obviously that's his spin on it, but they're saying, look, if you're coming in and building all of these houses that require all of this infrastructure, we want you to chip in for some of it. Not pay for all of it, but the developer who's building some of this, they'd like to start paying for part of the road cost, paying for part of the deputy cost, as you heard there, and proving critically that you have ties for other things like water, like fire protection, that these houses are going to be protected when they come in. And there's, I think, 16 total requirements as part of this local government code that ROCKWALL's asking for. And the interesting thing, Jason, which leads into why this is so controversial and such a big deal for the whole state, is ROCKWALL's one of the first to require this as well.
I see. And but I think that people think that, you know, this is just sort of a magical thing. When development happens, it all just kind of shows up and you don't really know who did all of the stuff. The county judge here is saying if the developer doesn't play ball on this, if the developer doesn't help us to offset these costs, we're in a real bad spot here, because how else do they come up with the money to fund, you know, roads, all of the new schools that would be required, the police protection, new ambulances, police cars, you know, on and on down the line.
And he says the answer to that is taxing the citizens that are already here, right? And so he represents people who have elected him into an office, and he's saying, I'm not trying to make those people pay the burden for people who haven't moved in yet.
And that's sort of untenable, I would imagine, too, for an elected official in any county. No elected official in any county of Texas wants to say, hey, I've got this massive tax increase that I'd like to pass along to you because
we're building a new neighborhood that you're not living in.
Yeah, and these are going to be great new homes that, you know, people are going to benefit from the infrastructure that you pay for.
Right, exactly.
So let's say, okay, so let's talk about this development that's planned here. The company involved here, which is, again, D.R. Horton, which is one of the biggest builder in the United States, I think. Initially, you know, they're speaking with the county. They're going back and forth on this. The county's saying, here's what we'd like to have. And D.R. Horton does what?
So there's some back and forth. D.R. Horton first appeals and says, we don't think those numbers are right. And the county judge told me, we agreed. And we said, okay, fine, here's what we'd like you to pay. In the meantime, D.R. Horton...
Wait, so the county came down?
So the county came down and said, you know what, we think you're right, and we're not going to ask you to pay this cost. We just want this much for roads and this much for to hire a couple deputies.
Okay, so it sounds like, you know, we're kind of starting to meet in the middle here.
And to be clear, this is only for the first phase of several hundred homes. It's not for all 6,000.
Okay.
And during this kind of negotiation, the county judge says, D.R. Horton said, you know what? No, we're not interested in paying for anything. We're going to sue instead, and filed lawsuit against Rockwall County.
Wait, so the offer was on the table though, and they're back and forthing about it, and I think it was, you know, less than $1 million, like
36,000, 68,000, something like that.
Okay, so like let's say $868,000, and that would have offset the cost of a couple of deputies to patrol that area or to patrol the whole, you know, county, and also some of the road work that needed to be done. And then all of a sudden, as they're going down the line here, the deal disappears, and now it's, hey, we'll see you in court. And so in June, D.R. Horton filed suit against Rockwall.
Right, and that's where the county judge kind of has his line that he's been repeating is, you know, the largest home builder in the state is suing the smallest and one of the fastest growing counties in Texas at the same time. And so they filed this suit, and I don't want to speak for D.R. Horton. They did not get back to us and did not respond to our request for comment.
You tried.
I tried, but I am wondering if the implications of this is what led to this lawsuit. If we agree to pay for some of the roads and for some of the deputies for the first 400 some homes, we've got 6,000 more we want to build here. And oh, by the way, across Rockwall County and across all of Texas, where now other counties are looking at this and saying, okay, well, if you're going to build that many homes in my area too, we also want you to chip in.
So the slippery slope.
Exactly, and the lawsuit's a chance to test that.
Yeah, and because you're talking about potentially a lot of money having to be paid by the developer, and if not the developer, by the county. And so yeah, there's some high stakes on both sides of this. Cole, I think that, you know, as I said, I think that people just kind of think that this, I mean, I never give it much thought. You know, you see things go in, you see stores pop up, you see new roads, et cetera, et cetera. You don't really, you know, they don't have labels on them as to who, you know, paid to offset the cost of that. And I guess this is probably a lot cleaner in cases where, let's say if I want to go and, you know, carve out a big development right in the middle of Houston or the city of Austin or the city of Dallas. It's a lot cleaner there because there are established rules in place as to what's required of me as a developer, correct?
Right. And zoning requirements, and cities have their own set of requirements and rules, and will say, hey, we need you to come up with a plan for this, or we'd like for you to pay for part of that.
And it's all codified.
It's all codified, and that's standard practice for cities. It is not standard practice when you're on unincorporated county land.
And that's where we get to the turn here. That's where the plot thickens here, because, you know, again, we don't normally think about this stuff a lot, but this is an unincorporated area. What happens in these unincorporated areas when you just, you know, I go and, you know, I've got tons of money and I just plop down in the middle of a county somewhere where there's nothing around and it's just grassland, and I think this looks like a great site for thousands of homes. What rules in that case?
At this point, there aren't that many rules for something like that. There's no city requirements, right? And it's designed that way for people to be able to say, hey, I want to be left alone. I want to be out here and be able to kind of have a homestead or a ranch. And I asked the county judge, and he's like, as long as you've got enough acreage for a septic tank, then you're fine, right? Like, you're covered here. 6,300 homes is very different than that, and it's a completely different can of worms, essentially.
Texas is very big, of course, on property rights, landowners' rights, and basically, isn't that the argument in this lawsuit that, hey, if you're requiring us to pay for things, you're infringing upon our ability to do with our land, it's our land, what we please.
That's exactly what D.R. Horton says in the lawsuit. They say that they have some kind of squabbles with the back and forth and the technicalities of it, but the essence of the argument is it's an unlawful taking of their property rights because it's requiring them to pay what they would say is extraordinarily high cost, prohibitive for doing what they want to do with the land that they own.
Now, there is a city that is somewhat nearby here, and in a lot of cases, and that city again is
McClendon Chisholm.
Okay, well, you may have heard of that city over the years because over and over again they've had issues with having enough water, et cetera, for the population there. This is it's kind of remote.
Yeah.
And now, how would you support another 6,000 homes potentially in a place like that?
And that's the judge's worry: is there going to be enough water? We already have, McClendon Chisholm the last 3 summers has faced severe water restrictions because they don't have enough water for the growing population.
So it's
there.
not just roads and deputies.
It's not just roads and deputies, and ROCKWALL is not requiring the developer to pay for a portion of the water. They're just requiring proof that you have water and that you're able to sustain the amount of development that you're planning to bring there, which is a big issue in this area because we've seen other cities that have struggled with that. And this land that's unincorporated land is newly unincorporated. It was a part of territory from McClendon Chisholm.
I was going to get at that.
Yeah, and
you've
has
heard
left.
about that a lot, extraterritorial jurisdiction or ETJ.
Mm-hmm.
So normally, if you fall into the ETJ, the sort of the perimeter around a city, you got to kind of play ball with how that city does things, even if you're in an unincorporated area.
Right. I mean, I think folks understand what it means to live in a city and the rules that come with living in a city and the benefits and the taxes and the trade-off that you make there, and people understand what it means to live out in the county. This is kind of a shoulder area that near almost all metropolitan areas exists that the city has dibs over, even though it's not technically within city limits.
Right.
With the goal
because someday,
with the goal being one day we're going to annex that, so we need a little bit of control over what you build here and what that looks like.
And therefore, from the very beginning, a lot of times in those ETJs, traditionally speaking, it has been that city that is nearest, sort of their rules would apply if you're in their ETJ. But that changed.
That changed a couple sessions ago with SB 2038, which allows developers to opt out of an ETJ and become part of an unincorporated area.
So Texas legislators put that through in 2019, I believe it was?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay, so that complicates the whole game now.
Right, because before, as a landowner, you didn't really have a choice. You kind of were in someone's city or were in someone's kind of dibs, ETJ area, city's territory, or you were just out in the county. But now you can pick, do I want to leave this territory that was kind of claimed by a city and be out in the county where I can either kind of hitch my wagon to a different city that I like better or abide by county rules or the lack thereof, which is what D.R. Horton has in this development.
So this exposes a real hole then, doesn't it? And ROCKWALL County, I guess, is trying to fill in this hole a little bit by saying, well, the approach that they're taking here, I think they called a novel approach in trying to still push for those rules, even though those rules aren't necessarily in place.
Right, exactly. They're saying, hey, well, we'd like to actually exert some kind of control over this for, reasons the county judge explained, right? It's going to cost us a lot of money to police these areas, to make the infrastructure for these areas, so we need some skin in the game from the developer too. And that's what's being tested in the lawsuit.
So when you were speaking with the county judge in ROCKWALL County, he said, when they're removing cities' ability to annex and actually control the development, it's creating a wild, wild west out here. So, I don't know if he's referring to unintended consequences of the from the legislature that when they removed that ETJ issue, or perhaps some people saw this coming. Who knows? But he says this is something that we're not equipped to deal with. As you mentioned, it's essentially, as he said, it's like dropping a city in the middle of an unincorporated area in a county with none of the stuff, the services, and all of that go with it. It's an interesting, because I don't think many people give a lot of thought to what does a county usually, what are they equipped to deal with usually? And he kind of covered that. And so I want you to take a listen just to kind of get an idea of what a county usually expects in a place like this versus what they may now be required to deal with.
The unincorporated areas, which the county is responsible for, It's primarily set up to deal with ranches and farms and homesteads, and it's not set up to deal with entire cities that are going to drop out of the sky. In this case, 6,307 homes are planned on this development. We require the developer to participate, not to bear the total brunt of the infrastructure, but to participate. It'll have to get in front of a judge who will either say, yes, the county has this authority, or no, the county does not have this authority. If they say the county does not have this authority, we're in trouble. And not just us, all counties in North Texas are in trouble. Our infrastructure is going to be overrun. We are not going to be able to keep up with water, police, fire, ambulance. We are going to be in trouble.
So, he's laying it out pretty plainly there. We're going to be in trouble if we've got to be on the hook for all of this stuff. And I would think that it's not just Rockwall County who sees trouble there. I would think that this would be something that all 254 counties in Texas are thinking, ooh, wow, we would be in trouble there too.
Right, and looking at this case very closely to see what happens. I mean, the judge says that if the county judge says if this case doesn't go their way, it's going to completely transform Rockwall County. And he's not far from Dallas. He says that the county wants to kind of keep its identity as much as it can, despite growing as fast as it can. And he's like, we lose all control over that if this lawsuit doesn't go our way, because we have no kind of way to wrangle development.
So what at that point then? Do you have development run amok at that point? I mean, does this become, if it goes forward and the county loses and that many homes are built, is this going to be the guinea pig? Is this going to be a test case?
Well, and I think that people who are in favor or opposed to the judge's position would say, well, it's a market economics thing. At some point, you run out of, people aren't going to move to a house where they don't have water, or they're not going to move to a house where they can't get there on a road that's big enough for the traffic. There will be limiting factors just based on the market economy. But in the meantime, the county is worried it's all kind of gonna fall off a cliff and
chaos.
And it'll be chaos.
Well, I'll tell you, every time I've ever bought a home, I get the timer out, and we get with the realtor, and if it takes X number of minutes, more than my dead, my absolute drop dead, I'm not going to commute that every day. We don't even look at the house. I'm not dealing with that.
Well, and
so
the judge
says
that
kind of situation,
right? That could be the situation. But think about the people who already live out here. This is going to dramatically change that number on the timer for them.
They weren't expecting that.
They weren't expecting 6,300 new homes moving in.
So every county is going to be watching this. Every county in Texas is going to be watching this case unfold because the stakes are so high for them. But as we touched on earlier, every builder, every developer is going to be watching this too, because the stakes are huge for them as well. If I start paying for stuff for you, I got to start paying for stuff everywhere that I start putting up homes, and this could get super expensive super fast. And what does that then do to the price of the homes that I'm putting up?
Right, and what does it do to the incentive to build homes, which we know Texas needs? So the builder is looking at this as an exponential cost that could grow in every single county in Texas, and we want to put the kibosh on that as fast as we can and say that no, this is not legal for counties to institute this. Counties essentially can't act as cities and regulate what we can and can't do with our land.
So I saw that the county put out a notice that basically said, we're going to defend against this lawsuit, vigorously. I would imagine that this, could be an expensive run for the county, just the lawsuit. I mean, because again, the stakes are so high, I would imagine that this could, drag on for some time and become pretty expensive as a fight.
I think absolutely it will be an expensive and high stakes fight. I think the county would say still cheaper than having to pay out of pocket for all these roads and all these schools and all these deputies as many times over with as many new developments as we may have coming our way.
So Cole, at the end of the day, where are we now with this? I mean, this is grassland that's sitting out there. We don't really have dirt moving at this point. Where is this project right now? I mean, now that it's in the courts and started in the courts in June, where is it right now, and where does it go from here?
Kind of in limbo right now, right? I mean, this is not an overnight project. This is a huge project on 1,800 acres of land, so it wasn't going to pop up all at once anyway. The first ask was 400 or so homes, but it's kind of in limbo right now. And it's a fresh lawsuit filed in June, and you've got, you know, the biggest developer in the country and a county, a municipal government. It's going to drag on for a while. And I think that, you know, there was the offer on the table and it was revoked, but the stakes now are so much higher than just this one development. I don't know that there's a settlement to be reached on this either, because both sides want their case to win, so they can have definitive rules for the next time something like this happens.
And both sides are looking at that big word called precedent, and concerned about what that does going forward.
Right, exactly.
And so this could drag out for some time, because not only do you have this court case, however this court case goes, we know that there are likely to be appeals after that to higher courts.
I think absolutely appeals to higher courts. One outstanding question is, does the legislature ever step in and say, okay, here's what we meant, or here's what you can and can't do, or, you know, of the 16 things ROCKWALL wants on their checklist, here are the 4 that are allowed. Those are things that could also change the trajectory of this down the road. The county judge says he's been working to try to get this law changed since 2019, seeing the possibility of something like this coming down the line, and he says he gets the great choice of deciding which committee his proposal dies in.
You know, which committee it dies in.
Yeah.
But he's seen this coming since 2019 when it was passed.
I think so, because when you start to look at ETJs and people being able to leave cities' jurisdictions, now all of a sudden in the county, and he's saying, wait, that's me. And what does that mean for what I have to do to provide services?
You know, it's interesting that you say, though, that you know, the possibility of legislation to follow up, because again, it was state legislation in 2019 that put this wrinkle in there that really kind of set up this whole situation to begin with. And ever since Governor Abbott called this special session that we're in right now, I mean, it was an ambitious call. I think it was like 18 things on the list. Redistricting Texas was one of the things. Which
always
usually
goes smoothly, right?
Yeah.
Everyone gets along when it's redistricting
and it's
time.
always real fast,
Yeah.
you know. So you think just that, you know, could take up easily, you know, a couple of special sessions. But you know, there's so many things on there. But it seems like over and over again, now that they're in special session, with every issue that comes up, we're hearing people go, maybe we can get this on the special session as well.
Bit of a Christmas tree, right? What else can we hang on the special session?
But it doesn't sound like the county judge in ROCKWALL is real hopeful about a good outcome coming from there.
I think he's putting his chips in the courts.
Cole Sullivan, thanks for the good work on this. I'm sure that there are probably going to be many, many follows to this story for you to keep working on.
Absolutely.
So you're going to have to be the anti-Whiteley and just keep working.
Well, whenever he's not here, you call me. I'm happy to come sit here and hang out with you guys.
You don't want to sign yourself up for that, because it happens more often than not.
Fair enough.
We really do hope that Whiteley gets his teeth fixed and gets back to full strength again, and gets back to work, more importantly. Cole, thank you for taking the time. I know that you're working a double today and got a lot going on, and I know that I've already used up more of your time than I was supposed to, because I was told by Daryl, who is, you know, kindly videotaping all of this and making it all look great, that by the time the sun was on your face, that would have been an indicator that we needed to wrap it up, because, you know, he worries about how that looks, and not to mention your UV exposure.
Well, before you were saying it made me look angelic, and now I think I'm glistening a little bit, so it may be time to say goodbye.
I think we've moved from glisten to sweat,
Yeah,
full-on
maybe.
sweat now.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Cole, thanks so much for sweating it out with us. We really appreciate it.
Happy to.
And thanks for watching and listening once again. And wait, what? Yes.
Oh, we can't forget where we are.
Daryl always keeps us
keeps
honest.
us honest,
He said,
yeah.
mention Sideways Barbecue again, because it is a great place, and we do thank them for being such great hosts today. And I'm looking forward to my brisket salad here that is hiding inside a box so that the flies leave it alone. Cole, thank you again.
Of course.